Let's talk about something that's imminent. This is we're about to have the month of February. I know we've already can notch off a whole month off of the calendar for 2018. How did that happen? Well, I think we've made 75 EP Live episodes already. It feels like we've been cooking on these things quite heavily, and I guess that's made time move super fast for me, at least. I hope it has been fast and fun for you. There's already been good games to enjoy in January, but February has got a bunch of big releases, and I didn't list every single thing, but I wanted to pick 10 or so of my favorites and EP's favorites. Or things that we're looking forward to because we haven't played these things. A lot of them are remasters, though. This is a month of remasters and games that have been released before for other platforms, but they're maybe coming to a different platform. I put 4 remasters into my number 10 slot, and I won't spend a ton of time talking about each of these, but Age of Empires Definitive Edition, and I know that they're going to be making definitive editions of the sequels as well. Pac-Man Championship Edition 2 Plus. They got to add the plus, but it's coming to the Switch. That's going to be a perfect platform to play that incredible game. They switched things around a little bit, though, and I checked it out, and it was weird. I liked it, though, and I'm looking forward to traveling with Pac-Man Champion Edition 2 Plus. De Blob 2 Remastered is coming out to PS4 and Xbox One on February 27th. I'm glad that it has been rescued by the new THQ Nordic, I believe, is publishing that. So hopefully that turns out really cool, and people dig it, and we get more De Blob because it's a great idea. You bring color to lifeless areas, which is always a fun conceit in video games. And another big remaster or new edition or port or whatever you want to call it is Payday 2 on the Switch. Payday 2 on the Switch is going to be another one of those games that kind of shows off whether the machine is capable of being a good shooter system. I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, it's a big online game where you're playing cops and robbers and you're hunting each other down. But that's one that I think there are a lot of eyes on because just like with Doom and with Skyrim, there's an interest to see how well it's going to handle, something that people are very familiar with. Metal Gear Survive is coming in at number 9 for me. I'm not expecting much out of this game, but I am certainly looking forward to it. It's the survival horror Metal Gear game that's a little bit more action-oriented. It's also got no Hideo Kojima in it, or as a part of it, and I think he has disowned any association with it. So I'm curious to see how that works. There's a little game called Fae that Electronic Arts is publishing. This is part of their Originals plan, and this is developed out of Sweden by a company called Zoink. And an interesting thing with Zoink is that they have just partnered and they are aligned now with Image and Form, who makes the SteamWorld Dig game. So there is a huge collaboration happening, and I think they've become basically one company. But it's an indie action-adventure platformer, super cool art style, reminiscent of some of the stuff that we saw with Ori and the Blind Forest. Very much looking forward to seeing what's happening with Faye. It's always a big deal when a company that is so, clearly revenue-driven and massive in scale, like Electronic Arts, decides that they want to shine a light on something a little bit more independent and smaller like this, and what they're doing with The Way Out as well. But Faye is on my list. We've got another couple of ports, Bayonetta 1 and 2, coming in at number 7 on my list, both for the Nintendo Switch for the first time. Platinum Games made these titles, and they also announced with the introduction of these games coming to the Switch that Bayonetta 3 is in the pipeline. I just need to applaud Nintendo for supporting this incredible company and this incredibly valuable intellectual property in the video game industry. This is a very, very cool design and a very cool character. Very sexualized and controversial in some ways, but just pure art, just gorgeous Salvador Dalian type, crazy creations where characters will explode into butterflies and you'll fight baby demons and giant statuesque creatures and stuff. I cannot wait to revisit Bayonetta 1 and 2, and I think I will be traveling when I get the codes for those games, so I'll be playing them on my Switch screen. So, I'm looking forward to seeing how the Switch handles all of that color and all of that activity, because they are incredible games to play. So that's number 7 on my list. Number 6 is another remaster. This is Secret of Mana HD. This is the old Super Nintendo game that Square Enix is porting to PS4 Vita and to the PC as well. And this is a classic, action role-playing game, and there are 3 different characters that are in the storyline, and it's real-time hack and slash with lots of storytelling, and obviously updated for a more modern age. But there's a lot of love for this game. I don't think this is anywhere near as elaborate as what's happening with the Final Fantasy VII remake. But I'm psyched to see this game and play this game again and see it, in widescreen and with HD visuals. Kind of sad that this isn't coming to the Switch. Maybe it will at some point in the future. But it'll be, maybe it's going to be something that I dust off my Vita for. I haven't played with the Vita for a long time. My 5th choice is a VR game called Moss, which we started to hear a lot about last year at E3. PlayStation, I think, is getting the exclusive on this. This is another action-adventure type platformer. One of my favorite games that launched with the Oculus Rift was Lucky's Tale, and I just like this idea of putting the VR headset on and sort of being the camera around our character. There are some first-person elements in this game as well, but this just looks beautiful. It looks like this is going to be a really, really lovely escape. And we haven't really gotten one of these character-based. There's been a couple, I forget what the name of the title is, but it was more like you tap on places and you see a character move around. And maybe that's how Moss is going to control, but I like this idea of a 3D action adventure where you're a part of the experience with your VR headset on. You're kind of like the camera, and you're interacting with the scenes in real time. Super cool. Another game that's being ported, but this is the first time that it's coming to the consoles. I played a little bit of this on the PC last year, and I loved it. It's called Owlboy, and it's a retro-style 2D platforming game. You get this kind of owl suit, these owl flying abilities, and you're able to pick up a character and kind of work in conjunction to deal with all kinds of bad guys and puzzles and objects. It's very, very well tuned. A little Metroidvania kind of thing, but just a cool idea. Just the idea of wearing this almost pseudo superhero kind of suit, this owl suit, and being able to do all of these awesome things like jump through the air on these cannons and things like that. And again, crazy ethereal metaphysical kinds of bosses and enemies and puzzles to solve. I'm very much looking forward to that. That also is coming to the Switch as well as the PS4 and Xbox One, but it feels like a perfect game that you can play on a platform that you can carry anywhere with you. Psyched for that. There's a game called Kingdom Come Deliverance, which I don't know very much about. It's being developed by a Czech company. I think it's called Bohemia Interactive. I'm pretty sure I've got the right name here, but this is an authentic feeling role-playing experience that's really trying to go back into ancient days and feel not so much like it's fantasy infused. It's not like The Witcher. It's more like you're just a regular schmo and you're trying to survive in a very harsh environment in sort of medieval times. And you can get stabbed and killed very quickly and very easily. But the developers have professed that this is going to feel very authentic, as if we would ever know, because we can't travel back in time like that. But different from other role-playing experiences that are out there, but also very beautiful and very polished. And I'm hyped to see how that one comes together. There's a lot of buzz about Kingdom Come Deliverance. Another port, first time on the Switch. Played it on the PS4 last year. Absolutely loved the game. Timberwolf, thank you so much. And this one's to you, Blake. Well done, Blake. Thanks for saving the show. Absolutely. Round of applause for Blake. Always rushing to figure out what the hell is happening. But I was just about to tell you guys about Dragon Quest Builders, which is a phenomenal game. The Dragon Quest Builders 2 has been announced, and it will be out soon. But Dragon Quest Builders, the minute you played it on the PS4, it's like God, I wish this was on the Switch. And of course, everybody at Square Enix was thinking of this is definitely going to happen. It is the Dragon Quest world, all that beautiful cartoony art and those great characters and that beautiful storytelling and design fused with Minecraft. And if it sounds like it's a cash grab, it isn't. It feels like it's great ideas kind of mesh together that crystallize into something really wonderful. The extra bit of storytelling really gives you incentive. It really gives you momentum to kind of craft your buildings and your bridges and your, solve these dilemmas and these puzzles and help out the townsfolk, the town that you're building around your characters. It's wonderful. It's beautiful art. And there's lots of cool, mysterious things. And I'll tell you something. I played this with my daughter, and she flipped for it. She thinks this is incredible. She doesn't know it's coming to the Switch. Hopefully I'll be getting this. We're going on a bit of a vacation, so hopefully I'll be getting the code for this. And as we're traveling around on trains and planes and stuff, I'll be able to play this with her. But there's a lot of creating. There's a lot of building. There's a lot of sort of leveling up and unlocking abilities. And it's incredibly addictive. It's got the Minecraft addictiveness and it's got the Dragon Quest addictiveness. Insanely cool game, and it's great on other platforms as well. You don't have to get it on the Switch to enjoy it. I just have always felt like that's the perfect place for this game. So I'm psyched for that. That's my number 2. My number 1 is a game I've been playing already and having a tremendous amount of fun with, and you'll be seeing my review of it very soon. It's Shadow of the Colossus for the PlayStation 4. Again, what is it with these remasters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of my top 10, because I collapsed 4 into one of them. 10 of my top 10 are remasters, or ports. But Shadow of the Colossus is sensational. If you've never played this, you have no excuse now. This is worth going out and buying a PlayStation 4 for. Even though there are tons of other great reasons why the PS4 makes a great, addition to any home theater. This game is art. This game is like every frame of it is just stunning and magnificent. I mean, you're sitting there in awe thinking, how did they design this and dream? Like, it's easy to think, okay, you can sketch these incredible ideas as 2D, posters or a beautiful, sumptuous comic, but they made it live. They made this world live. It's not vastly populated, and that's one of the ways that the developers certainly were able to achieve what they have achieved back on the PlayStation 2, mind you, and on the PS4, everything has just been finessed and tweaked and improved and up-resed, and the textures are gorgeous, and the Colossus fights are breathtaking. It's insane. It is so great, and you can roll your eyes at the fact that Sony has re-released this thing now. This is the 3rd time. But it's still a masterpiece. It still absolutely deserved to be played. And it is even much, much better than the PlayStation 3 port, which was also an improved, HD remastering. This one you can play in 4K. You can kind of choose frame rate or kind of a cinematic kind of gloss to it. But either way, you're just going to be stunned by this gorgeous lighting and these incredibly detailed and ornate destroyed temples and ruins that you're going to have to navigate through. You're going to love it. It's an incredible game. Can't recommend it enough. And that's also why, even though it's imminent, it's very soon. I think it comes out on the 6th. That is my number 1 pick for the game of coming out in February. Going to be a good month. Going to be a familiar month. A lot of stuff that we've seen before, but lots of fun coming out next month, starting tomorrow. Remasters sure make me think about your comments of older games not being playable. That's from Mondo Blasto Zero. Yeah, I mean, I think we're constantly in this this state in our business now to have nostalgia front and center, and us to kind of recognize that there is value in things that have gone before. Valve has been making a fortune off of that, and all the publishers and developers that have created a bit of a community in that space where they can sell some of their older software, and there's this kind of super long tail. Those companies have been doing very, very well, and I feel like the console business has always been about like boom, let's get this out and let's just scrub the rest. And I saw that again even with, and I would start to comment on it with my interviews with sports game developers. It's like they would always start with this kind of dismissal of all the incredible work that had come into last year's game. And in that context, in the idea of sports titles, the idea that you want a new season with new rosters and new players, and it makes a little more sense. But it always rubbed me the wrong way that there was this idea that you just, what we did last year was okay, but, it was nowhere near as good as what we're doing this year. And the games industry, I think, falls victim to that a little too much, And that's certainly evident when you log into your SNES Classic and you play Super Metroid and you go, holy shit, this was incredible. This is still so fun to play. It's still a perfect game, Or even Star Fox with its rudimentary triangles making up its spaceships. Super fun. Still a super fun experience to play. And I feel like I love HD remasters. I love the idea of, just with a real extreme sort of fetishization of like trying to put the unbelievable amount of polish onto these things that technology allows us to do these days. I think that's wonderful. But I also believe that there is still merit and value, and frankly, it's time to allow us to access a lot of the archive that's out there in a legal way. I always comment about my love for these things, whether it's through buried treasures or when I talk about the SNES Classic or whatever, and people always go, you just get an emulator, just get what are those called, the Raspberry Pi, and load it up with all kinds of games. And certainly you can do that, and you can make all kinds of cases. You can say, look, I have this whole huge library and all that stuff. I think the idea is, let's get to a point. Hey, Adrian Leon, you are awesome, man. Thank you so much. You are a sweet, sweet dude. Thank you. But I sure think the idea will be to, open up the category, open up the idea of accessibility, and not necessarily pledging allegiance to a machine that only gives you this much content. Saying, okay, well, here it is. There's your archive. There's your library. To pick anything off the shelf. There's no time limit here. Enjoy it, play it, just appreciate it. And I think we're going to see it once we get to that. I really fully, fundamentally believe that once we get to that, it will be an earth-shattering change for how video games are accepted by the world. And video games have been accepted by the world, and the sort of petri dish, the litmus test for how this goes down is how we've seen mobile explode. And people that are playing mobile games don't know that they're playing shitty games. A lot of them are playing stuff that they download because it's free. It's another match 3 game that looks like another match 3 game that looks like another, and they don't know, and they're just killing time. I walk down airplane aisles all the time, and I see people just playing the worst games. They just don't know. If they had machines that allowed them access to, download whatever they want, they're paying their monthly fee. And they have, like, if Nintendo does that, if Nintendo flips a switch and says, here's what our new virtual console is, it's everything we've ever had published on our machines, and you just pay us, whatever their monthly internet fee is, and you can access it anywhere you want, or even if it's just on the Switch, I mean, that would just be like, it's been already on with rocket boosters on it, but that would be like, okay, well, let's put the hyperdrive on the Nintendo Switch, because it'll go through the roof if they do some kind of subscription-based thing just on classic Nintendo stuff. I think that's been a harmful element of the video game industry. This constant state of these things turning into rubbish. One day on my walk home, I came across a box. And I'm not lying. I came across a box with a PlayStation 2, a Super Nintendo, a PS3, and some games that was just left out for anybody to take, and some controllers. And I took it, of course, because it went into the archive, and I have extra copies of these things in case. I don't know what I'm going to ever do with all of these things. I would love to be able to have a facility that was open to the public where people could come in and see all of this stuff. I don't know if we're ever going to need to do that, though, because I believe that we're going to go to this point where access to this content will be readily available. But my point is that all of these classic machines just thrown out like rubbish, and that's the way the business kind of treats itself. It's like, okay, well, this is done. It's over. It's dead. It's garbage. It's done. Forget that. Forget getting perpetual licenses for the music artists that we have on these games so that we can re-release SSX again. You know, it drives me crazy. Like, this is art that these companies build, and they just go, all right, it's gone. You know, if you got it and you got a machine that will still run it, that's great for you. But we're on to this now. Have you seen this? And look, it comes with this, and you can buy these little bits, and you can make your character better, you know. And it's not, I don't want to sound like a crusty old guy that just thinks about the glory days. I just want to think that all of this stuff is worthwhile, and it's all worth appreciating. And I feel like because we don't, we kind of say to the consumer that maybe comes in on this time period and stays with their Wii or what have you, and then it gets all changed and none of that stuff that they bought works again, it must drive regular people that don't turn this into every part of their life crazy. You know, like there's a lot of things that the business does where it's just like, well, this is just for gamers. We're hardcores. We're just this. And most people don't have the time to just be thinking in this little box, you know. But speaking of boxes, that was my soapbox. You got me going. Any other comments or questions? Sean Lysick, would you be interested in a SNES remix? Absolutely. Absolutely. With the like they did with the NES remix where they had all the micro games and stuff like that, that would be great. Love it. Up yours, kids. This box is mine, Sean Lysick. Well, I mean, it felt like if anybody was going to appreciate a box of old consoles, is going to be me, and so yes, I brought them into the archive, and they're part of the archive. Samian111, should sports games have an annual release, or should they only release a major update as a full release and charge for minor tweaks and roster updates? I think we're moving towards that. I think we're probably seeing either sales plateau or kind of dip down a little bit, and I think the sports game industry is starting to kind of move in that direction. Although NBA 2K kills it. It's one of the top selling games every year, and it's an incredible franchise. Holy crap, it's so great. They got a lot of heat last year for all of the microtransactions and the exorbitant prices on some of the stuff in game, but still, at the core of it, it's just like, holy crap, you can do a lot of stuff that is ridiculously fun in this sports game, and that's why people line up for that game. It comes out, there's like a line at EB Games and GameStop and Best Buy, which is amazing, man. That's awesome, and I think some of that still happens with the EA sports stuff as well, but I think things like Ultimate Team and stuff like that are forcing people to kind of think more, maybe they should just make this online and you download. Question, SNES Remix. Sega got it right. The future is software, hardware cycles as necessary, but the creative properties they build and what will stand the test of time. Yeah, I mean, they did get it right. They had to, though. They had to kind of come out of the hardware space. I'm shocked that Sega hasn't done a better job at finding a way of getting us their classic stuff. I mean, they keep re-releasing these discs for different machines, but they could easily do like a Dreamcast classic update or something. But it becomes a hardware risk, I guess. I guess you can find a lot of Sega games in a lot of different ways. Like they just recently released a free app on iOS that allows you to download some of those old Super Nintendo games, and you can then choose to buy the ones that you want, or you can have the ads be served up, which is another interesting model in video games. That's the one thing about this business and why I've been doing this for so long is that it's not stagnant. It's not boring. It's not, whereas movies and TV and radio and like every other medium, books, comics, they're threatened by this change. It's like the upheaval in the way that their media is served is like a threat to their business. It is that for games too, but it's almost like the games industry, because it's so allied with technology, it engenders that change. And in its audience, sort of gets people sort of educated to these constant transformations. And I guess what I'm saying is that it needs to do that, but it also needs to bring its history with it in a more elegant way. And I think the SNES Classic and the NES Classic are an example of how you can do that, but even those aren't deep enough. Those things should not just have 20 games or 30 games; they should have 300 games. Anyways, that is a topic for another time.